It started with a single still frame from someone's story that wasn't meant to stay up for more than a few seconds. A reflection in the bar's glass panel at the Marlin, a quiet place near Itaewon, where fans never expect idols to linger. The frame wasn't even centered on Jungkook. It was supposed to be a photo of someone's drink, an aesthetic shot of amber liquid and dim lighting. But in the background, blurred yet unmistakable, was a figure with his posture, his hair, his way of sitting slightly slouched with one arm resting on the back of the bar stool. And beside him, too close for a stranger, too separate for a friend, sat a girl. Not leaning in, not touching, not talking loud enough for anyone to hear. Just there, quiet. That was the first crack. The story owner deleted it instantly, almost panicked. Screenshots caught the moment it disappeared. Timestamped 3 minutes after posting. Too slow, too late. One person had already saved it, circling the outline in red, posting it with a shaking caption. Wait, is that him? And who's she? Most people dismissed it at first. The lighting was warm, the silhouettes messy, the environment too calm to feel suspicious. But then another angle surfaced. Someone else, sitting at the opposite end of the bar, had captured a short clip of the shelves behind the counter, and in the mirror's edge, 2 blurred figures sat in the same positions. Jungkook leaning slightly forward, the girl turning her head as if reacting to something he said. The bar wasn't loud. It wasn't the type of place to hide. People noticed. Too many small details aligned, and yet nothing was clear enough to claim. And then came the mistake. The moment that turned curiosity into collision. A fan on Twitter, trying to debunk the rumor, posted a zoom crop of the reflection with the caption, "That isn't Jungkook. This guy is wearing," and then deleted it within seconds. But the crop she posted, trying to prove it wasn't him, accidentally highlighted the exact silver chain he'd worn earlier that evening on a live stream. The chain glinted in the reflection. That was all it took. Comments flooded in, confused, defensive, annoyed. Why would you post this? Where's this bar? Who is that girl? No way he'd sit like that with someone at a public place. The thread spiraled instantly, not because the evidence was solid, but because the denial cracked first. Tweets got rewritten, locked, deleted. Discord servers went into slow mode. People argued about angles, lighting, shadows, insisting the reflection was distorted, yet still staring at it longer than they wanted to. The calm atmosphere made it worse. Nothing dramatic, no rush. Just 2 people sitting at a bar, longer than expected. Long enough for fans to wonder why he stayed, why she stayed, and why nobody else seemed surprised until the internet was. One moment of stillness became a storm, and no one agreed on what they were actually seeing, just that they were seeing something they shouldn't have. By noon, the reflection had become a Rorschach test for the entire fandom. Everyone saw something different, and no 2 interpretations matched. Some insisted Jungkook wasn't even facing the girl, claiming his posture suggested he was turned toward the bartender. Others argued the angle showed the opposite, that his knees were pointed slightly toward her, a detail too intimate to ignore. But the real escalation came from a completely different platform, a quiet thread on a K-community forum, where someone claimed they'd been at the Marlin that night, sitting, not close, but close enough. Their post wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even confident. They wrote, "He looked relaxed, like he wasn't waiting for anyone. But then she came in. Gray sweater, hair tied. They talked, I think." The hesitation in that last line became fuel. Screenshots spread before the original poster could lock the thread. People demanded proof. Others said the description matched the blurry silhouette. Some insisted the detail about the gray sweater was made up, because another user had earlier mentioned a dark coat. The contradictions stacked on top of each other until nothing felt reliable. And then, unexpectedly, Instagram started coughing up new fragments. Always accidental, always peripheral. A picture of someone's cocktail menu with 2 figures blurred in the background. A boomerang of the bar's neon sign with the faint outline of someone who could be Jungkook walking past. A staff member's friend liking then unliking a comment, asking if a certain guest was there late last night. But the moment that froze the discourse came from an unlikely source. A fan edit account trying to calm everyone down posted a collage meant to debunk the sighting. In the process, they accidentally revealed a screenshot of a DM from someone claiming the bar was mostly empty, except for them and 2 people near the window. That phrase, "except for them," wasn't explained. The account deleted the post within a minute, but screenshots had already escaped. Threads erupted instantly. What do you mean, except for them? So they were sitting together? Why delete it if it's nothing? No one could answer. People tried to backtrack, to minimize, to reinterpret, but the phrasing lingered like static. Some fans grew defensive, accusing others of reaching. Some insisted the DM was fake. Some said the entire narrative was exaggerated by a few accounts chasing engagement. But the tension wasn't in the evidence, it was in the atmosphere. The bar was calm. He wasn't rushed. She wasn't hidden. The lighting was soft, warm, too gentle for anything scandalous, and too deliberate for anything accidental. Fans kept refreshing timelines, not to find confirmation, but to find an explanation that felt safe. None came. Every attempt to clarify only scattered the pieces further. And the strangest part? No one could agree whether the uncertainty made it better or far, far worse. By late afternoon, the narrative had stopped behaving like a timeline and started behaving like a glitch. Pieces repeating, contradicting, looping back in ways that made fans doubt not just the details, but their own memory of the morning. A new angle surfaced, supposedly from someone seated at the far right corner of the bar, but the image was so grainy that half the fandom claimed it showed Jungkook and the girl sitting farther apart than previously assumed, while the other half swore it looked closer, almost like he was leaning in to hear her. The arguments became oddly emotional, not about them, but about the interpretation. People accused each other of zooming too much, of brightening the image incorrectly, of manipulating shadows. But then a short comment appeared on TikTok under a harmless food vlog shot at the Marlin months ago. Funny, this is the exact spot where he was last night. It shouldn't have meant anything. No timestamp, no proof. But it got liked by an account that was known for accurate Jungkook sightings in the past. They unliked it a minute later. Too slow. People screenshotted the notification. That single like created a new branch of speculation, not about the girl, but about the seat itself. Why that corner? Why the most visible part of the bar? Why not a private booth or a hidden lounge? Places idols had been seen before without issue? Fans tried to rationalize. Maybe the staff sat them there? Maybe the other seats were taken? Maybe it wasn't him at all. But the rationalizations contradicted each other instantly. One person claimed the bar was pretty full around midnight based on old reviews. Another posted that a friend walked past the building at 11:45 and saw almost no one inside. Someone else insisted the Marlin was known for its quiet, late-night ambience, attracting people who wanted long, slow conversations. That phrasing, long, slow conversations, spread weirdly fast, attached to screenshots of the reflection, as if describing the atmosphere, not the people. And that was the moment everything shifted. An account with a small following tweeted, "If they really were talking for hours, why didn't anyone else mention seeing them earlier?" The tweet wasn't accusatory, but questioning. It was deleted in under a minute, but the deletion made it feel heavier than the words themselves. Suddenly people began combing through timestamps, comparing shadows, analyzing the shape of Jungkook's shoulders in the reflection. No one agreed on anything. Some started insisting the girl might have been there even earlier, unnoticed. Others pushed the opposite, that she only appeared toward the end, and the hour's narrative was a misinterpretation. But the question lingered, poisonous in its vagueness. If this was harmless, why did it look like they were trying not to draw attention, yet weren't hiding at all? Threads multiplied, not neatly but chaotically, as if the fandom was piecing together an image they didn't actually want to see, one that kept changing every time someone refreshed the page. By evening, the discourse had grown so tangled that fans weren't even arguing about the same moment anymore. Some insisted the real incident was the reflection in the bar mirror. Others said it was the second angle near the shelves, and a surprising number fixated on a rumor that Jungkook and the girl had been spotted leaving the bar together briefly before returning to their seats, a claim that no one could trace to an original source. Threads contradicted each other in real time. One user uploaded a detailed diagram of the Marlin's layout based on public photos, highlighting where the reflection must have been captured. 3 replies immediately corrected the angle. 2 called the whole diagram wrong, and 1 said the bar had recently remodeled, making the entire analysis outdated. But the real destabilizing moment came from a well-known update account that tweeted a clarification, saying Jungkook hadn't been at the Marlin at all, only to retract the statement 5 minutes later, with a vague, "Details unclear. Please wait." Fans screenshotted both tweets, overlaying them in collages, circling the timestamps like evidence boards. The retraction became the biggest spark so far. Why would they post that if they weren't sure? Who told them to delete it? Why walk it back? Theories split instantly. Some accused staff of damage control. Others claimed the account had been pressured by fans who didn't want the narrative to grow. And a few argued the retraction itself was proof something had happened. Meanwhile, a small thread on Reddit appeared, claiming a bartender had mentioned a quiet pair who didn't order much but stayed a long time. No verification, no photo. The comment was removed, then reposted by someone else with a slightly different wording, making it impossible to tell if the first screenshot was real or an edit. And then a new detail started circulating. Someone said they heard the girl laugh softly at one point, barely audible, but enough for another patron to glance over. Half the fandom dismissed it as fan fiction. The other half insisted the detail matched the body language in the reflection. Nobody agreed. Nobody could. The more fragments appeared, the harder it became to tell what belonged to the original sighting and what had been invented in the chaos. But the uncertainty didn't calm anything. It amplified it. Fans tried to audit each other's claims, building messy spreadsheets, comparing shadows in low-resolution clips, arguing whether Jungkook's chain sat higher or lower depending on the image. Rational explanations sounded flimsy. Emotional ones sounded dramatic. The tension wasn't about romance or scandal anymore. It was about how the moment refused to stabilize, slipping between interpretations every time someone tried to make it harmless, until the very effort to calm the fandom started looking suspicious on its own. By nightfall, the rumor was no longer a rumor. It was an ecosystem feeding on itself. 100 versions of the same quiet moment mutating with every repost. What pushed it past the point of no return wasn't a new photo or angle, but a compilation thread titled, "Everything We Know So Far, Probably Nothing," which tried to collect every fragment into one place. Instead, it detonated the whole conversation. Fans scrolling through it realized half the screenshots contradicted each other. Timestamps overlapped impossibly, and certain details, like the color of the girl's sweater or the exact position of Jungkook's arm, had changed so many times that no one remembered the original version anymore. People began accusing each other of mixing up nights, confusing venues, misidentifying patrons in other people's photos. Someone claimed the bar playlist that night included a soft acoustic cover, while another insisted the bar hadn't played music at all after 11. Then came the moment that sealed the collective panic. A well-known fan translator tried to calm things by posting, "Guys, they weren't alone. I heard there were at least 3 other people near them." It was meant to diffuse tension, but the phrasing, "I heard," made it worse. Comments exploded. From who? Why say that now? Why does it sound like you know something? Within minutes, the translator locked their account. Too late. The disappearance itself became the story. That one retreat made people think there was more to retreat from. Discord servers froze. Mods tried to halt discussions, but their silence only fed suspicion. Screenshots leaked of private messages, arguing whether posts should be deleted, preserved, or ignored. Fandom spaces that usually moved in sync broke into full disarray, some begging everyone to drop it, others convinced that dropping it would look weird, and a growing group insisting the entire situation was being overblown, except they couldn't explain why it felt so heavy if nothing was happening. By midnight, the question wasn't, who was the girl? Or, what did they talk about? The fandom had stopped pretending it was about that. The question had shifted into something sharper, more disorienting, something no one could articulate cleanly. How did he end up in a moment that looks exactly like something he shouldn't be seen doing, without doing anything wrong? The lack of an answer kept the conversation alive, pulsing restlessly across platforms. No statement came, no corrections, no clarifications. Only that still frame in the mirror, unchanged and unhelpful, showing too little to confirm anything and too much to be forgotten. And as the night went on, fans refreshed their feeds again and again, not hoping for truth, just waiting for someone, anyone, to explain what they had all just witnessed and why it refused to disappear.